Hey YouTube, Gear Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Naturia Yugioh deck profile for February 2020. A lot of you have been requesting an update to the Naturia deck, and it does feel like it's been quite a while since the last update to one of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh decks, so I figured why not, and we'll do an update. And this, for those of you that don't know what the purpose of the Naturia deck is, it's a very interesting deck that uses a bunch of different plant and rock and insect monsters to summon out a bunch of them to the field, then go for synchro summons that have monsters that can shut down your opponent's cards when they try to activate them, or just shut down mechanics entirely, as you see here with Naturia Bamboo Shoot. It's a really fun deck. If you've never given the deck a try, I definitely do recommend it. But let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So to start off with the Naturia monsters, I run two Naturia Bamboo Shoot. Bamboo Shoot's always been one of my favorite cards in the deck. If this card is tribute summoned by tributing a Naturia monster while this card remains face up on the field, your opponent cannot activate spell or trap cards. So being able to completely shut down your opponent's spell and traps is a big part of the deck. Having this card have 2,000 attack and 2,000 defense, meaning your opponent has to rely solely on monster effects to get around this card. Sure, they can effect veiler it, or they can try and use one of the kaijus to get rid of it. Yeah, but, very solely does that result in having not to rely on spell and traps and hoping to get one of those can definitely help to shut down a lot that your opponent can do, since you've taken away 2/3 of the potential cards they can use in the deck for just needing to tribute one Naturia to get this card out. Definitely one of my favorites. I only run the two though, more than enough during the testing. There were plenty of times where I would just open up too many of this card and not have enough to get a monster out to stay on the field and then tribute out for Naturia Bamboo Shoot. So that's why I'm only running two. It is searchable with Naturia Sacred Tree, so you always have that option available to you if you really want to search this card out fast from the deck as well. And I also run three Naturia Cliff with this one. When this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon one level 4 or lower Naturia monster from your deck in face-up attack position. So you can use Naturia Cliff when it's sent to the graveyard to summon out another Cliff, then grab another Cliff, and then the final one can be any of the other Naturia monsters you have in the deck as well. So very, very strong for that play, but also being able to rely on it overall for just the different special summons of any Naturia you want. Definitely does come in handy. Just remember you'll miss timing with the synchro of Naturia Cliff, and getting its special summon has to be just when it's sent from the field to the graveyard. So very, very useful though, either way, because most of the time I'll use Cliff after summoning all the different ones to get out Naturia Cherries, which is your go-to level 1 tuner. Being able to adjust this card to go into Naturia Barkion from Naturia Beast if you need spell negations or trap negations. And when Cherries, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard by your opponent's card, including battle or card effect, or by being destroyed, you can special summon up to 2 Naturia Cherries from your deck in face down defense position. So the only weakness I would say of Cherries is opening up with 2 in your hand, because that shuts down the play. But if you open up 1, set it, your opponent destroys it, you get 2 more Cherries on the field. It takes away from having to draw into the Cherries, obviously, but then also gives you the option to use them for tuners or as tribute fodder for Naturia Bamboo Shoot on the field as well. So you definitely need to run 3 of these cards. One thing I've noticed with a lot of the Naturia cards is that there haven't been many reprints for any of these cards anytime soon. It's a quite, old deck now too. I think it might be over 10 years old now as a whole, but still very, very fun, and definitely a lot of mechanics. Still hoping for some new support one of these days. I think we'll just have to keep hoping that it'll come out. But moving right along, I also run 3 Naturia Marin. With this one, when this card is normal summon, you can send 1 Naturia monster from your deck to the graveyard, and once per turn you can target 2 Naturia monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them both into the deck, and draw 1 card. So the draw power helps. Also, if you open up Cherries early on, you don't get the special summon, but you have 2 more in the deck. You can shuffle back some of the Cherries to reuse as well using Naturia Marin, or just have some setup in your graveyard, being able to send, and if you have some other cards that can special summon, go for the synchro play right then and there. One of the ones you can special summon out, which I run 2 of as well, is Naturia Cosmobeat. Now with Cosmobeat, if you send it with Naturia Marin, then have a card that can special summon it back, like Monster Reborn, there is your Naturia Beast play right there, which is 2 cards from your hand. But normally, Naturia Cosmobeat, when your opponent normal summons or sets a monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. So it gives you the 1 monster on the field already before you even take your turn, especially if your opponent goes first and this is in your hand and you have your Naturia Bamboo Shoot, being able to tribute the Cosmobeat you special summoned out for your normal summon for the next turn to be Bamboo Shoot. Your opponent may have a monster on the field, but you'll have something that can stop their spell and traps right when it hits the field, unless they negate the summon of the Bamboo Shoot, which could help then clear out for some of your other plays. Some more power-up cards. I'm running 3 Naturia Pumpkin, just with links still being a thing, and just easy synchro summonings with your level 1 and 2 tuners. Pumpkin comes in handy when this card is normal summon. If your opponent controls a monster, you can special summon 1 Naturia monster from your hand. You can even summon Bamboo Shoot. It won't get the spell and trap lock effect, but it'll still give you another resource on the field to use. Most of the time I like to go for either the tuner, Cosmobeat, or, Cherry from my hand, and then it's a Beast or Barky on play right there with these 2 tuners as well. And now moving on to some of the one-ofs I run the deck. The reason I run the one-ofs of these insects is mostly because the plant lineup definitely does help, but being able to swap back and forth with the plant lineup with Naturia Sacred Tree and the insects, you get more special summon consistency off of the plants, while the insects provide their own sort of protection against your opponent. I run 1 Naturia Mantis. Mantis helps when your opponent normal summons a monster. You can send 1 Naturia monster from your hand to the graveyard to destroy it, just getting rid of your opponent's monsters when they normal summon one. 1 Naturia Butterfly for the attack negation once per turn by sending the top card of your deck to the graveyard. 1 Naturia Mosquito. While you control another face-up Naturia monster, your opponent cannot select this card for an attack target. Your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from battles involving a face-up Naturia monster. So more of the burn damage as well with Mosquito, which is very, very useful. And being a level 1, it's also a 1-for-1 target, just like Naturia Cherries. And then the best one I like to sit on when my opponent takes their turn is Naturia Yugioh, because when your opponent special summons a monster, you can special summon 1 level 3 or lower Naturia monster from your deck, giving you more and more resources with a lot of different cards in the deck with Yugioh, and being able to swap out Yugioh with Naturia Sacred Tree with a plant on the field is very, very useful as well, being a good setup, which we'll get to in just a bit. But just one-ofs, because like I said, they're all searchable off of the card, and you really only need 1 on the field. There's no really ever a multiple situation with any of these cards, not like you would get with Pumpkin or Marin or Cherries, to rely on multiples of those to give you more plays. That is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 3 Frozen Rose. This is a card that came out in the Legendary Duelist Sisters of the Rose pack, and I really like the potential it showed in the Naturia deck. Send 1 face-up monster you control to the graveyard. Apply this effect, depending on the type on the field. If it was a plant, during the end phase, draw 2 cards, then discard 1. For a more draw power play with that, and any non-plants, you add 1 level 4 or lower plant monster from your deck to your hand. So Pumpkin, Marin, Cherries, Cosmobeat, you name it. You have plenty of searches with Frozen Rose. It's also a quick play spell, so you can set it and use it on your opponent's turn. Also, if you don't have Frozen Rose, you can try Super Solar Nutrient or even Mark of the Rose to fill in this spot. But this searcher just is really, really good overall to grab the cards you need in the deck. And then for some of the other one-ofs, I run 1-1-for-1 for the plays from Naturia Mosquito or Cherries to get out on the field faster and not take up your normal summon if you want to tribute them for Bamboo Shoot. 1 Monster Reborn, the resources to special summon back, especially with Marin, giving you 1 in the graveyard, then just being able to summon it back out to the field. And I am trying out the 1 new off the ban list, is Pot of Avarice. You select 5 monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, and draw 2 cards. So you can recycle your Naturia Cherries, Cliffs, and then get draw power back in your hand for consistency. Very, very useful late game with this deck. And I also run 3 Call by the Grave, just, the hand traps once again. Effect Veiler with Naturia Bamboo Shoot completely shuts down that card and wastes the tribute summon. So being able to stop it with Call by the Grave definitely does help. And then if your opponent doesn't have that monster play, they really might have no more options after it to go into. And to finish off these spells, I run 2 Foolish Burial Goods. You send 1 spell or trap from your deck to the graveyard. The one that will send off of this card is the first trap we'll be going over. A very important one for the deck as a whole. That's the only reason I run the Foolish Burial Goods, but it helps with your search, which we'll get to now when we move along to the traps, which is Naturia Sacred Tree. This continuous trap, if it is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 Naturia card from your deck to your hand, except Naturia Sacred Tree. You can only use 1 of the following effects of Naturia Sacred Tree per turn, only once that turn. You contribute 1 Earth Insect monster, special summon 1 level 4 or lower Earth Plant type monster from your deck. Or you contribute 1 Earth Plant type monster to special summon 1 level 4 or lower Earth Insect type monster. So going back and forth between all the Naturias, which are Earth, you can go from Plant to the insects that we play, or vice versa, which the insects are over here. And then whatever you need for that setup. If you have a plant on the field, being able to go, let's say, from a Naturia Cherries or Marin that you have on the field, and then get out Yugioh before your opponent even starts summoning a monster, can just swarm the field with a bunch of different Naturias for you to use. And then the send effect is the best way, I would say, aside from drawing Bamboo Shoot, to add to your hand to use also. And I also run, for those who don't know, my favorite play with the Naturia deck, and still is today, the Safe Zone protection. Just being able to equip a Safe Zone onto Bamboo Shoot, protect it from being destroyed by battle, and unless your opponent takes out this card, which you can always stop them from summoning out a monster that can take out this card before they get to it with one of their link monsters or anything like that. You can stop them, and then just keep your Bamboo Shoot safe if your opponent were to attack into it with other cards. And then for the rest of the traps, I run 3 Solemn Strike and 1 Solemn Warning. I decided to still stick to 1 Solemn Warning, just with, this is the only life point use in the deck, but having too many warnings, I felt, with Strike. You could try ratioing them out if you want to try 2 warnings and 2 strikes, but I still do like the 3 strike, 1 warning ratio for the deck as a whole. And that is it for the main deck. When I move on to the extra deck, probably the best one to use is Naturia Beast. Being able to stop spells against your opponent is very, very important, and a level 5 is definitely one of the easier ones to make with the deck as well. I still do run the 1 Naturia Barkion. It's still an easy summon to get out, and then negating traps by banishing cards while Naturia Beast sends the top cards of your deck, while you banish for Barkion and mill with Naturia Beast. Both work very, very well together, so I can't wait for Master Rule when I can get both out onto the field without having to rely on a Link monster again, and even just, summon out Naturia Beast, especially, then have the extra Cherry on the field as well. Synchro these two together, get out Naturia Barkion, and then use cards like Monster Reborn to summon Beasts back onto the field to use as well, and then have both of these to stop spell and traps, or like I said, the Bamboo Shoot play. Both work very, very well in the deck. I also run 1 Naturia Landois when you have the spells to discard and stop monster effects, another great synchro monster to go for. I also run 1 Leo Keeper of the Sacred Tree. I don't run Naturia Leo Drake, it just doesn't have an effect, and obviously Leo is stronger. And I run 1 Queen of Thorns when you can stop the synchro plays, or just, burn your opponent down for this and make this card. It's very, very useful. Also 1 Goyo Guardian, 1 Black Rose, which is great with the plants because then you can use that effect as well, and 1 Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon for the bigger plays when you can go for it with the 1 additional Cherry and the Black Rose, or any of your level 6 options with Cosmobeat. And to finish off the rest of the extra deck for the Exceeds, I run 1 Leviair and 1 Daigusto Morale for recycling, some more and more special summoning of your banished Naturia cards onto the field. And for the Link monsters, I run 1 Mrs. Radiant. Powering up Bamboo Shoot, especially to 2500 attack, can definitely make a difference with this deck, and recycling the other cards also. 1 Nightmare Cerberus, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and 1 Borreload to finish off the extra deck. But that is it for the video. I hope you all enjoyed. It's definitely one of my favorite decks out there, so if you're looking for something new to try, you're a big fan of insects and plants in Yu-Gi-Oh!, definitely look into Naturias. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.